And welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, hit the subscribe button. It's a red button down below. Hit the bell icon beside it. That tells you when I make a new video. And if you like the video, hit the like button after you finish watching it, or in the middle, or in the beginning right now. Just hit it. So in this video, I want to talk about some of the negative ways in which African parents interact with their children. I make these videos in the hope that in my own little way, I can influence social change in Africa as a whole. So there are many ways in which African parents, positively impact on their children, and this is something that we are supposed to be very proud of. And in Yoruba, for example, which is my own tribe, we have the term abiyamo to refer to a parent who is doing exceptionally well with their child. However, some of the negative things that parents do with their children in Africa, they tend to overshadow these good things. And in order to have a good relationship with your children, I want to mention some key points which I feel, based on my own experience and based on discussing with other people and reading the Nigerian landscape or the African landscape in general. I want to mention some key things which I think parents should take into consideration when dealing with their children. So while I'm making this video, I was laying on my bed earlier today and I recalled an incident that happened in 2012. I saw a woman beating up her child for coming back late from school. This happened in Mushin local government in Lagos State. So the woman was basically saying things like, "Iwon burúkú ma sọ ẹ́ láàbò ara, ma gba apá lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀, tí n bá rápá gbà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀, ma gba ẹsẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀, tí n bá rí ẹsẹ̀ gbà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀, ma gba ojú lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀, ìwọ̀n burúkú yìí, Ọlọ́run ló mọ ibi tó ní lọ." So she said all those things and started beating up the child. And nobody came to intervene, or some people came to intervene, but it was a bit late. The child had been beaten, bleeding, and all that stuff. And so I thought about it today and I thought, this is not the way things should be done. You cannot treat a child in this way. And that's why I'm making this video. So I'm going to mention some other points different from these kind of things that African parents do, which I think should be stopped. Having been raised in an African home myself in Africa, I can confidently say that in a very sane or decent climate, many African parents would lose custody of their children due to the nature of abuse, both physical and emotional, that they inflict on kids in the name of home training. Sometimes when African parents abuse their children and the neighbors intervene in these cases, the parents justify and say, "It's not your child, leave, just go away." Even when the neighbors eventually find a way of convincing the parents, they still appeal to the parents and they don't call out the parents for abusing the kids. They still appeal to the parents and say, "Okay, you know what, please, it's just a child, just let him go or just let her go." Even when they should be calling out the parents and telling them, this is not how you raise a child. So basically, African parents have no respect for their children. In fact, respect to a younger one is oftentimes a foreign concept to an average African person, talk less of a child. So you feel that respect only goes from the younger one to the elder person. So many parents don't respect their children. And when I say respect, I don't mean kneeling down to greet your child or coming to serve your child food or running errands for the child. No, I mean accepting a child's individuality and helping them grow with it. So I have a paper here and I've written down 4 ways in which I see African parents disregard their children and interact with them negatively. This list I have here is by no means exhaustive, and if you have other ideas also, I would like to read them in the comment section and possibly even make another video to expand on this topic. But I feel this list is a starting point. So let's get into it. Number 1, African parents demand that children should be grateful for being born into this world and for being taken care of. And that's why you hear blackmail kind of statements when parents say things like, "I gave birth to you, I took care of you, is how you're going to pay me back." And they do these things basically to blackmail the child when the child doesn't want to do their bidding. And you have to realize as a parent that the child didn't ask to be born. You took some certain actions and certain steps that led to the birth of that child. So it's your duty to take care of the child. You don't deserve praise for taking care of that child. Of course, children should also be grateful to their parents for things that they provide to them. But don't forget that it's your duty to provide for the child. Like a lecturer at a university, it's his duty or her duty to teach the students. Even if, the students are learning and they are benefiting also, but it's his duty or her duty to do so. Number 2, African parents many times believe that children are there to run errands while they lay back and relax. It's so bad that sometimes some kids come back from school and the next thing they have to do is to fetch water, cook, clean. Some kids, before they go to school, they have to wash their daddy's car, they have to clean the kitchen, they have to prepare food in the morning. So they'll have to even take care of their small siblings before going to school. If you have so much responsibility in the house and you cannot handle it on your own as a parent, get a maid. If you cannot get a maid, come with your husband and wife together, work on this chores together. I'm not now saying that children should not take any responsibility in the house. No, that's also very bad. But a balance needs to be struck. So the child needs to understand that they're part of a family unit and they have to take responsibility for some of the things in the house. You as a parent, however, it's your responsibility now to ensure that you balance these duties responsibly. If you get what I'm saying with my responsible jargon. So it's your duty to ensure that you let the child do chores to support the house, but you don't let them overdo it. Number 3, African parents many times expect their children to obey their every command. This is wrong because you have to understand that a child is an individual on its own, just like you, with individual dreams and ideas and beliefs. It's your duty as a parent to help them grow along this line while preventing excesses, not to make them conform to you. Many times African parents try to make their kids do their own bidding, and if the kids don't want to do it, they begin to threaten the kids by saying things like "Oma shiru efweno." That is to say, your child is going to repay you in equal measure. So parents have to understand that they are human beings also, and as a human being, we are not infallible, which means that we make mistakes. So when you begin to say things like, "You are a child, you have to listen to what I say, you have to obey me," take a step back and realize that maybe you are wrong, and maybe the child should have his or her way at this particular time. And this is something that African parents have to take note of. Number 4, African parents many times expect their children to help them fulfill their own failed dreams. So you begin to hear cases like a parents forcing their children to study engineering at university or to study medicine. Parents making their children take science courses, even when the child wants to take courses in history and commerce and government, because the parent had a wish of becoming a doctor or an engineer and couldn't achieve this. So we often romanticize this kind of ideas, and that's very bad. There's a very popular example which almost every, at least Nigerian, would have heard. There's always a story of that guy whose father made him study medicine, and the person was in school for 7 years studying medicine. He came out on top of his class, and on graduation day, he took his certificate and gave it to his father and said, "Dad, this is for you. Now let me go back and study what I wanted to study initially." So things don't have to get that bad as a parent before you realize that what you are doing is wrong. Again, the child is an individual on its own. It's not your place to force your own ideals on this child. Let the child grow and just be a guide to the child. Number 5, African parents many times expect children to carry on their own ideologies and beliefs. So it's always somewhat of a taboo in an African home, for example, for a child to change his or her religion. In fact, it's often a problem when within the same religion, a child moves to a different denomination. So for example, a Christian family who is Catholic, sometimes it's a problem in an African family if the child decides to become Protestant and vice versa. It's also sometimes very bad that some parents cease to pay the school fees of their child just because the child has changed religion or changed ideology, or the child lives a life in a way that the parent doesn't like, even if this is not necessarily harmful to the child. It's just a matter of the parent not liking it and the parent cutting off support. These are things that if you do them in a sane society, you lose custody of a child and you won't get access to that child again, because the child might be a mini you physically, genetically, but the child is an independent person on his or her own. So parents need to respect, again, this goes back to individuality like I mentioned before, and understand that freedom of religion, freedom of choice, and freedom of the life a child wants to live should be left to that child to choose, while as a parent your job is there to guide and not to force. As a parent, it's very important to realize that acceptance of your child is key. At some point, children would often take a different path from the one you wish to see them take, whether it's in terms of their ideology, their religious beliefs, their views on life, or on their career or anything. They will take a different path from you. It's your duty to be able to accept their new way of life, even if you don't fully understand it, especially when this way of life or these ideas are not harmful. So those are about the 5 things I see that African parents do negatively. If you're a parent, take note of these things and watch if you're doing any of them. If you're doing any of them, try and stop them. If you're not doing any of them, kudos to you. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one.